Hey, a great Monday evening. It's an interesting day in the city of Brownsville. Let me tell you guys, it's never a dull day in local politics here in the city of Brownsville. Never a dull day, and that's one of the reasons why I think we're still coming out and doing these shows every single day at 9 o'clock at night and Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. in the morning, and on Saturday at 3 p.m. Good evening. Mi idea gaona de olivo. Well, we usually start off with the numbers, but
Usually.
we're going to wait a little bit. We are going to have Jared Hakama, the chair. Like 1,000 messages just popped up. Yes, we're going to have Jared Hakama, the Cameron County party chair. Buenas noches, guys. Good evening. What's up, Louis? Buenas tardes, hermoso Ray Royals. Guys, I'm not even joking. They all just popped up all of a sudden. Jason, my man. Belinda, good evening. Bati. I guess y'all heard what we're going to talk about tonight, huh, guys? Hola, Martin. Te amo. Good night, hermosa. God. Goodness gracious, guys. I cannot keep up. Well, let's get into it, guys. Buenas noches. Good evening. Mando, buenas noches. ¿Qué onda, Pablo? Guys, I'm skipping some of the comments. I literally can't, bros. I appreciate you. What's up, Ryan? Good evening. Good evening. I literally can't keep up, Frankie. I'm not even joking.
Hey, that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. It's a good problem to have. Guys, we'll do the numbers in a little bit. But let me tell you what just happened. Hell, tell me the gossip. It's not gossip. Let me tell you what just happened in regards to information that we just received.
It's new. It's news, not gossip.
It's not gossip at all. One of the things, and again, we've been very, very consistent in coming out here and letting you know, Sylvia controls the sport. There's no doubt in anyone, and there shouldn't be doubt in anyone's mind. So anyone out there that's still going, oh, you think Sylvia's controlling this board? Let me tell you, if there's anything that the news reported in Brownsville Herald, you get an A for today, Brownsville Herald, and you know how critical I am about y'all guys. Today, you get an A. An A! Let me tell you guys, if there's one thing we've been saying is how Sylvia has her hand so far up the board president's derriere. She controls not only what she says, she controls what she thinks, she controls what she feels. But if there's anything that the story in the Brownsville Herald tells us today, she not only controls the board president, she controls Prissy, she controls Drew, she controls Laura. Laura! Yes, Laura! She controls Laura like a top, like a small little top, and controls flip-flopping Philip, and controls little Eddie, because he was appointed by a corrupt, pathetic, put money in Sylvia's pocket board. That's who put him on the board. Sylvia put him on the board. And para acabar con broche de oro, she controls the superintendent. Because you know what? While we were out there demonstrating on the streets of Price Road when it was raining, guess what? She was out there communicating with all of them. June 23rd, the day of the meeting. We'll talk about the curfew later, guys. The day of the meeting. Check it out. June 23rd. She was out there communicating with them. All of them. All of them. And we've been saying it for months. And la gente, no, Erasmo, es que Erasmo's bitter. Erasmo's bitter. Erasmo doesn't know. What more proof do you want? And guys, she was specifically told, do not communicate with anyone at the district. Do not communicate with anyone at the district. Do not go to any functions. Do not step on any property. Why? Because she stole money. Because she manipulated them like a cat manipulates la lint que está en la belly button de las fodongas. Guys, what more do you want?
It's kind of impressive at Erasmo how, at first I was, I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, but I just think that this woman is delusional. Shortly after her arrest by the feds, Hannah High School had a groundbreaking ceremony for a gymnasium, if I'm not mistaken, and she appeared. And we were all taken aback by it, saying like, hey, well, what's going on? And the federal government, they admonished her, saying, stay away from BISD, from any and all co-conspirators, co-defendants, meaning stay away from BISD. So the federal government, shortly after Erasmo, that she appeared for that groundbreaking ceremony, she was summoned back to federal court, and she was kind of given a slap on the hand, saying, hey, we told you, stay away from BISD. Now come, and again, there has been word that Drew has been meeting with her at her home that she shares with her sister, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. People have been telling us this, and for whatever reason, I've been like, you know what? I need proof. That's kind of far-fetched. This woman is risking going to jail pending her trial, if that's the case, based on what the federal government admonished her. So, hey, this all comes to show that this woman is still trying to manipulate the board. She still thinks in her mind, Erasmo, that everything's A-okay. She is spreading the word through the board attorney, through the board president, through her minions, Erasmo, saying, hey, I'm going to be back. I'm going to take my throne back. She's trying to instill fear. Now we have this removal case filed by the DA's office, where we get word that as of last week, 6/23/2020, she was requesting information on the flexibility of the budget. She's still thinking about BISD money. Her mindset, Erasmo, is not on her criminal case where she could spend 10, 15, 20 years in federal prison. It's still on BISD and its money, because that's her lechita. That's where she would milk it for all it's worth. It's unfortunate that this individual, Erasmo, is delusional. She's out of touch with reality. She thinks that what she's doing was a consult. She was being a consultant for the school district. It's unfortunate, but it all leads back to money and greed, Erasmo.
Guys, I mean, and I hate saying it, but I've been saying it for months, guys.
Told you so.
She's communicating. She's controlling them. That is why he got his extension. That is why he continues to speak with her. He's not following the direction of. He's not, out there concerned about the teachers, the staff. He's following her orders. The superintendent. It's very clear on the news story. But guess who else was there? Baltasar Salazar, the board attorney. Do you remember on that meeting 2 meetings ago? And we questioned it. And he said, why is the board going to pay for the representation of the board members in court? They were getting attorneys. Why is it that they were going to use your children's money to represent La Prissy, La Drew, La Laura, La Philip, La Little Eddie? ¿Quién me faltó? La Minerva. Why? Why were they going to use your money, teachers? The money that should go to you. The money that should go to our students. Oh, no. They're using that money to go pay for attorneys so that they can represent them, while Sylvia's still communicating with them, telling them exactly what to do, what moves to make. Y al superintendent, así lo tiene así para arriba para abajo.
Crazy.
What more proof do people want? Let me tell you, and everyone who continues to communicate with her is complicit and needed to be abolished. Well, they need to be removed. But let me tell you guys, and I've said this before, and I think I've said it to some individuals out there. She eats, she breathes, she drinks, she feeds on BISD. She needs it like a drug. Like her gambling problem. She needs to have BISD. I mean, she controls everything. So again, guys, That is what I was facing when I was on the board. Constantly. That is why they filed all those fake police reports. That is why all my stalkers and my haters, they post all those stupid lies every chance that they get. Why? Because she was feeding them. Baltasar Salazar was feeding them as well. The board members, las idiota de Minerva, was doing the same thing. The same thing. Why? Because all were being manipulated by La Silvia. All of it. She has decimated and destroyed every single individual out there that's come and that's crossed her path, that has tried to stand up to her, except mine. Except mine. And let me tell you guys, oh, what a happy day today. Que bueno que now there's what more proof do people want? Really? Do you need more proof than what was been given already? Anyone? Does anyone want more proof? Anyone? Have I lied? Glad the beach will close. Hey, thank you, Martha. Good job. Have I lied? Tell me one thing that I have said. Y luego te hace la gente, oh, he's just stirring the pot. Some idiot from Los Fresno. Shut up. Go back to El Rancho, imbécil. Oh, Erasmo just like stirring the pot. Yeah. I'm out there stirring the pot while they're pocketing your children's money. Teachers, while they give you limited raises. Y todavía sí, they didn't even want to give you $2,000 raise. Sylvia was going. Do not give it to them. Hey, Prissy, Drew, Laura, don't give it to them. Here, let me tell you what you say and what you do. Look at the news report. June 23rd. Guess what else happened June 23rd? The board meeting. The board meeting where your raises, where the calendar, where the budget, where she can still bleed for money was being voted on. And she was out there communicating with Minerva, with Prissy, with Drew, with Laura, with flip-flopping Philip, and with little Eddie, but especially with the superintendent. It's on the news report, guys. Am I lying? Have I been lying to you about this whole thing? Have I? No. I've been the only one that's been. Will she even spend time in prison? Is she still getting money deposited to her account? Because they deal in cash. BISD is her cash cow. 100%. 100%. Yo también. Lies. Eating, guys. Buena. Sylvia! Give back the money! Imbécil. Rata. Inmunda. That's all the proof. That's it. It's so blatantly obvious. Wake up, people. Guys, what more do you want? Are you not entertained? Thank God. Thank God. Es la mafia del poder. It is, man. But, you know, it's not just the mafia del poder. It's the money, man. It's the money. You're talking about a $600 million budget. $600 million budget. And she wanted it all. She wanted to have her hands on the insurance. She wanted to have her hands on food and nutrition. She wanted to have her hands in everything. In a movie.
Erasmo, I'm sorry to apologize. I apologize for interrupting. Can I play an audio on a board meeting where Mr. Baltasar mentioned that he spoke with
Yes.
Sylvia?
Yes.
But I want to make this one crystal clear too, that I had this conversation with Dr. Atkinson, with Ms. Peña, with Dr. Clifton, and I said, if you are going to modify this, it's the best and the easy.
He clearly states, Erasmo, that he spoke with Dr. Atkinson, with Prissy, Minerva, and Drew. He caught himself, and Prissy corrected him. She was like, no, not Atkinson, Dr. Prissy. So we have here the board attorney saying live at the board meeting, guys, that he has spoken to Dr. Atkinson. Dr. Atkinson got arrested back in December. This board meeting was back in June or June. Was early June. So, hey, the rice is in the pudding. There's the evidence. What else do we need? There has been constant communication from Dr. Atkinson with the board attorney. After, guys, she was admonished to stay away. But it's obvious she can't do that, Erasmo.
Guys, It's unrecorded. It's in the meeting. It's still on the YouTube. Baltasar Salazar just went out there and said exactly what we all already knew, and what the court found out today, that Sylvia Atkinson was in constant communication in regards to all the votes that they had to take in regards to your budget, in regards to your raise, in regards to your calendar. And guess who ultimately decided? It wasn't the superintendent. It wasn't the board. It was Sylvia Atkinson, because she still controls Baltasar Salazar. That is why Baltasar Salazar got an extension to his contract. That is why Baltasar Salazar continuously got a raise. That is why this superintendent, Rene Gutierrez, now do you understand why he got an extension to his contract? Now does it make sense why he got an extra $450,000? Because Sylvia pays back the people that serve her. $415,000, guys. Sylvia, say Erasmo's name, who's telling the truth. Come on, Sylvia. Say his name.
Erasmo, this goes to show that there is a desperate need for an internal for an external audit. We don't know where the money is, and for whatever reason, this board is adamant on not doing what is recommended. We have a board member who is has a case coming up. She's on trial for allegedly taking $10,000 that we know of, that the federal government can prove. And now we have issues regarding laptops, regarding iPads, regarding electronics, millions of dollars. Her sister is in charge of the federal grant money that they just granted $3 million for some sort of screens not too long ago. This past board meeting. So again, we need an external audit. We need somebody to come out from the outside to open up the books and let us know where exactly this money is going. I think that's one of their fears at Erasmo, that they are scared that come November there will be individuals on this board that will welcome an audit, that will welcome to have somebody from the outside to take a look at the books, and that is what scares them. And I hope, Erasmo, they do not sleep comfortably at night.
Rodney makes actually a great question. He always makes great questions, but this is extra great. Do you think they'll arrest La Pingüina de la Minerva and La Willy Wonka, the Lurch Brown? Let me tell you guys, they are tripping tonight. After today's court hearing, they are tripping. All of them. They're tripping because they were complicit, because they knew that they couldn't be speaking with Sylvia Atkinson. They knew, and they still communicated with her. They still had communication with her. The superintendent had communication with her. The news article clearly states Minerva Peña had communication with her, the board president, and the board. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, guys. If it's a pot of menudo, steer it, baby. La stupid. Is Sylvia ever going to get invited to the show? Yes. Eric, be nice. I'm actually surprised the Herald even reported. Let me tell you, again, I give them an A today. And you know me, I dislike the Herald very, very much. But I will give them praise when praise is due. And today they put out a heck of an article out there, guys. A heck of an article that I'm going to easily say is going to be trending #1 in our area for a good couple of days. It was a great, great article. Congratulations, Bravo Herald. I'm starting to like you a little bit better. She dreams nightmares of Erasmo coming for her.
Erasmo, I have a question. Do you think that Sylvia Atkinson is voting through consensus in closed session? Is that possible? We recently had how the board granted the superintendent's contract of 1 year, which was not, was disclosed in executive session. It wasn't disclosed to the public. We also have the hiring of representation for the board members that was very vague, and everything was discussed in executive session. Question, Erasmo, do you think that Sylvia is voting through these individuals, through consensus in closed session?
One thing that Maria just mentioned, I mean, look at the videos, guys. Do you see Prissy and Drew always on their phone?
Always.
As well. She's controlling them, guys, and that's how stupid they are, because all the feds are going to do is get open records. I mean, they're already probably tracing the phone calls, so they know that she's been communicating with them. I wouldn't be even surprised if Prissy had her phone on during the close executive session, so Sylvia could hear everything that's going on in there. Or la Willy Wonka de la racista de la Drew. Easily. I mean, easily. Now, I thought Laura was a good addition. No, Laura is just as bad. Laura has voted with them, will continue to vote with them. Laura will bend. She is scared to death of Sylvia. She would never, ever stand up to Sylvia. Laura is as guilty as little Eddie, and little Eddie tiene poco. But again, little Eddie was unanimously appointed by this corrupt board. In other words, little Eddie was appointed by Sylvia Atkinson, because this board did nothing without the approval of Sylvia Atkinson. These ratas did nothing without her approval. And the difference, very easy, the difference between them and myself, who served on the board while they were there, is that I actually went to the feds. I actually went and reported their lame, pathetic, rata-infested butts. All of them.
And I got a question for you, Anonymous. So what does this all mean? Was she not to have any contact? How is it that her own attorney admitted it?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, Mr. Garza, Noe Garza is a genius. Noe Garza is a genius. He's going to be saying that they were seeking her counsel. So I'm going to say that he's throwing it back on them. This is what I think happened. This is my take. What I think happened is that, their attorneys were told, hey, she's communicating with the board and the superintendent. And their counter was, because you can't counter telephone recordings. You can't counter it. So their counter was, no, they were communicating with her. They were communicating with her. That's how I read it. And again, Mr. Garza is a genius. I mean, it's a great defense. It's a great defense. Like, wait a minute. No. Let's clear this up. You're accusing my client of communicating with the board? No. They were communicating with her. That's what it says. She was communicating with him. She wasn't only communicating with him.
She was giving directions. Yeah,
she directed their every breath. All you are doing is trying to help the teachers and make us all aware of the corruption going down BAC. 100%, 110%, and I will continue to, as long as you permit me. Anonymous group should get involved. Does DOS attack BIZ until change happens to expose them? Everyone needs to call them out on their crap. Rata imunda! Que pase la gala! I can't say the word because ¿y para cuándo cae el cheque? 9:30, we're going to talk about that, pero el cheque va a caer en agosto, I think.
Yeah. September, October.
Do any of the, including the superintendents, still have menstrual periods? Well, just the stuff that's spurting out of their mouth. Because it's all directed by Sylvia's private parts. It's all that's directed by Sylvia. Porque ya le hacen falta rines a la valera. Pretty much $600 million budget. She eats, breathes, sleeps BISD, and she controls the superintendent who didn't give my teachers raises. She controls this corrupt board that voted on a budget that would continue to put money in Sylvia's pocket. Ya, tío, November, we removing everybody. Al rato Erasmo as, no, el presidente, mi sobrino, hermoso. BISD is better organized than the typical mafia. Let me tell you guys, the organized corruption is there. Why is she still on the board? Didn't someone file to get her removed? Well, that was actually part of the proceedings today. Again, I don't think that they're going to move very much farther in regards to the removal. They're just going to go for the federal case. I mean, today was just a bee slap. I'm not going to say the word, a bee slap on the district. They bee slapped the district today. Yep. Gotcha. And that is why today we actually had the opportunity to see it, but they did not record. They did not televise it. They didn't zoom it. You know, they didn't throw it out live, so we couldn't see it. I was waiting, and I actually put up a post. I mean, Gerardo, have I been lying? Have I made anything of this up? I've been telling, and my family, they know I've been saying, I've been telling to them, she controls the sport. She continues to speak with each and every one of them, especially Laura and little Eddie. And Minerva, of course. Se le atoró el mazapán. Okay. Vea mucho en el voice message.
Hey, Erasmo, what's your take on Drew Brown letting people know that Sylvia will be running for BISD board once again?
Well, again, Drew and Sylvia are tied at the hip. They've got this extra special little type of relationship. I just do not know. I mean, if Drew Brown, to sacrifice the reputation of such a good man in the community, to decimate the clean-cut reputation that the Brown name used to have. Now you associate it with someone who dislikes Hispanics, someone who puts money in thieves' pockets, someone who would sell out anyone in order to give Sylvia a buck. So, Drew, good luck with having Sylvia run again in November. Let me tell you, I'm running against an incumbent, and it could be Sylvia, it could be Minerva, it could be flip-flopping Philip, or it could be Laura. Because, but let me tell you guys, if y'all think for a second that I am stupid, I'm not stupid. I just look stupid. There's a big difference. Now is that, Laura is going to want to run for her seat. It's not true. Laura doesn't want to run for her seat. She's trying to scare away people from running in that position because she wants to give the seat to Daniela Lopez. That's what she wants to do. They haven't, and they think that I don't know. Really, guys? Y'all think that I don't know? Really? And really what ticks me off more is because I thought I had some form of friendship with these people where they could have at least had the courtesy to at least say, this is what we want to do at Erasmo. But let me tell you guys, if you want to run against someone in November, let me tell you, I'll run against Laura. I'll run against that seat. I mean, I already have the shirts. Erasmo Castro plays 5. I already have them. So let me tell you guys, I will run against an incumbent. Any one of the incumbents. I only wish that I could run against all 4 of them. El little Eli no vale ni la pena to run for. I wish Frankie would run against him. I wish anyone would run against him. It's not worth my time, little Eddie. You're a nothing. You're grasping on to your family members who used to be serving in public office. You're trying to grasp on to pobre Gavi and dragging her down in the process, little Eddie.
Erasmo, I challenge the board president to make a public statement in regards to this and guarantee the public that Atkinson is not interfering and that she hasn't been involved with this board. I make the challenge to the board president and the school board members. You talk about transparency. You talk about thinking about the well-being of our community. Make a public statement. We have yet to hear from the board since Sylvia Atkinson has been arrested. Now that this transpired in regards to constant communication back and forth, I challenge the board president and the school board to make a public announcement, a statement stating that they have not and they will not let Sylvia Atkinson control and intervene in this board, because we all know, Erasmo, that this
can't make that statement.
That's a lie.
They can't make that statement. They cannot make the statement because they'd be perjuring themselves. They can't make that statement because they know that they have. They know that they've been communicating with Sylvia. They know that Sylvia's directed their every step. Rene Gutierrez can't say that he hasn't communicated with Sylvia. Again, why doesn't anyone out there come out, make a post, say Erasmo's lying? Something. A tweet. Y'all call them tweets, right? A tweet.
Dice, no sé.
Victor, Loredo, don't worry, bro. Just because you asked nicely, I will not change the mascots for your schools. So
thank you.
Oh, just because you asked, Victor. So you tell all your friends que por ti, I'm not going to change the mascots of the schools. Just for you, bro. Just for you. Guys, They should all be thrown out. Sandy, we'll have that option in November. We'll have that option in November to vote each and every one of them out. And let me tell you, La Drew and La Prisi, the only two that are going to remain, because La Drew was very adamant. But screw y'all. Me and Prisi still have 2 more years here. Frankie, continue.
What was funny, guys, very quickly, was that they took her picture out of the graduation programs and they camouflaged it with some sort of something, relationship or something. So they're trying their best, Erasmo, to distance themselves from Sylvia Atkinson. I don't know if you heard me before you got your snack. I was mentioning that they try to omit her from the program, from graduation. Now they've been trying to distance themselves and show the public like, oh, she has nothing to do with our school board. But then again, we get word now, based on this civil removal process, that there is that constant communication. So they cannot look at the public in the face and guarantee it, Erasmo, that everything is A-okay with BISD, because obviously it is not. We have an individual that is, still pulling strings in regards to BISD, and that's unfortunate.
Well, let me tell you guys again, guys, for everyone out there that doubted it for a second, been saying it for months now. Months. I've been saying it for months. People, no, Erasmo's just bitter. Erasmo's just bitter. I'm not bitter, bro. I have a great life. I'm Erasmo Castro. Oh. I mean, anywhere and everywhere I go. I mean, I feel the love of my people. Look, the difference between me and these idiots up there is they need that position in order to feel important, to be someone in the community. They need that. I don't have to be an elected official in order to be someone in this community, to be of relevance in this community. I don't. I have a great life. So I'm not bitter, not in the slightest. But I hate when they take advantage of our community. I hate when we continuously get screwed over by these people. Continuously get screwed over. And I've been saying it. Sylvia controls La Minerva. Sylvia controls La Prisi and La Drew. Sylvia controls La Laura, La Philip, y La Little Eddie. And of course, Baltasar Salazar. And now we learned even Rene Gutierrez. What more proof do you want, folks? Do you need more proof? Vamos a Whataburger, Erasmo. Tú pagas, yo voy.
Erasmo, my understanding of the...
Matthew, you made that video, and that thing went wild, bro.
I always thought that the superintendent was the gatekeeper for BISD. And as we know, Sylvia was reprimanded not once, but twice. I was there for her for when she got arraigned the day after she got arrested. And the federal judge, I think it was the magistrate judge, Judge Morgan, I believe. Judge Morgan admonished her and said, stay away from the co-conspirators, co-defendants, stay away from the victims, which is BISD. So Dr. Rene Gutierrez understands this. He knows that Sylvia Atkinson is not to be seen, heard from dealing with BISD. She had the issue in regards to the Hannah groundbreaking ceremony. They admonished her then. Erasmo, my question, would the federal government bring her back and possibly throw her in jail for not listening not once, but possibly twice?
Well, let me tell you guys. This is why I think it wasn't out there live for everybody to see. It should have been. It would have been amazing. I would have had probably a stroke this afternoon. Yeah. I would have probably freaked out because you know what? No, man. And I've been telling people, just be patient. Everything is going to come out. Everything is going to come out. And guess what? It has. I mean, it has. And it's going to continue to come out. There's more stuff on there. And again, people say, and I got it today, well, Erasmo, you're not very critical about Laura. I'm not very critical about Laura because, again, I don't want to impede on an ongoing investigation. Right, Laura? So, Laura, you could be watching this all you want. You could be watching this all you want. You could have all your friends on here watching it and looking at it and recording it. I don't care. But the reason that I haven't mentioned your name because I do not want to impede on an ongoing investigation. And you know what I'm talking about, Laura. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So, guys, they're all guilty. And they, again, and if anyone wants to separate a little Eddie, say, well, little Eddie acaba de entrar. Little Eddie, no. Little Eddie was appointed by this corrupt board. O sea, que this little Eddie was appointed by Sylvia Atkinson herself. Well, hold on, I'm getting a message.
Hey guys, crazy times that we live in. You know, we would always think that, you know, everything was A-OK in BISD. We've had Barbacoa Gate, we've had Scoreboard Gate, we had Sylvia Gate. Where does this end? You know, for far too long, individuals have used this position, our position on the school board, for their own enrichment, for their own gain, to further their career. We've had two sitting board members at Erasmo that were given cushy jobs at TSC, our community college, so they could fluff up the numbers. Where does it end? When does our community finally step up and say, hey, you know what? Enough is enough. I am hopeful at Erasmo that come November, teachers, the DIAGs, the counselors, the paraprofessionals, the staff will come out and vote and say, you know what? Enough is enough. We are tired of being manipulated, stolen from. We deserve people on that board that will give us, the community, a seat at Erasmo. So I'm very hopeful for November. I'm glad all this is coming to light. It's bittersweet that it's a little bit too late, in my opinion, but it's better late than never, baby.
Don't mention my name. Maybe you already know, but do know Sylvia and her sister live next door to La Willy Wonka Drew Brown. Well, yeah, what? So they crouched through the cerca.
The fence.
Hey, buddy, this is how I want you to vote. Please entertain the vendor and think of it, guys. Do you remember when Prisi, we busted Prisi for moving contracts up at TSC from the same vendors that were putting money into Sylvia's pocket? And the TSC board member let us know it was blatant corruption. But guys, we're going to pause on BSD for a while because it's great. And we'll continue. I'll be on tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. Let me tell you, I'm going to get some more stuff out there for you guys in regards to BISD. But tonight we have the honor of having with us Cameron County Democratic Chair Jared Hakama. Jared, how you doing, man?
Frankie, how are y'all doing?
Pretty good, thank you.
Good evening.
It's good.
And I have to give a shout out to Richard Steamboat because I saw in your ad that I was going to be on your broadcast. Like, who the hell is that? Got to give him a shout out.
Richard's amazing.
Richard
He's
Steamboat.
a good guy. I know him. I know him really well. He's a great guy. I love this
Hey,
man.
I try to keep a low profile, so that was, I'm glad to hear that.
Well, you're always like in a very romantic setting because it's all like
I'm at home. I mean, what can I say?
the lights.
We're lovers, not fighters. Us Democrats.
The lights are dim. I'm wanting to have a little glass.
Well, I'm trying to get them brighter. I actually put a light right in front of me. I have a little light that I bought for the computer. I couldn't find it. Anyway, but I have like two lamps pointed at me right now. So,
well, Jared, it is the start of election. The runoffs. Jared, how's everything going for the Democratic Party out there?
Really smooth. We had a really good turnout today. Little bit below the pace of 18, but all things considered, pretty good. Pretty heavy, steady turnout. Every year you have a few little issues the first day, but we worked those out, and things are going smooth.
Well, let me ask you something, Jared. One of the things that a lot of people have been asking for, we are facing an election, even if it's a runoff election, never seen in the history of mankind, I would say. With that said, some individuals have brought up to me two concerns, and I don't know if you've seen them. One of them is that the library still has big old signs that say closed. So it kind of might trip people out and saying, well, I came to vote, but it's closed. The second one is, can you tell us what the parties has done in order to encourage the elections department to up its game in regards to curbside voting?
Well, sure. First of all, the issue at the Brownsville Public Library has been resolved. I believe that sign's been covered up. I know I talked to the elections administrator about it this morning, and I believe they went out there and put up a sign that says closed except for voting or something of that nature.
Right.
But we had several hundred people vote today at the Brownsville Public Library, which is a normal turnout for that location this cycle. So I don't think it's turning away too many people, but if just one person is turned away, that's too many. And so it needs to be addressed. I will say that, unfortunately with a lot of locations and including this one, sometimes the people that are in charge of the location don't understand what a critical role that their facility plays in democracy. And so we run into this with library directors, school principals, folks like that, priests of churches that want to change the elements of the facility from election to election to suit their convenience. And they don't realize the impact that has on voters. And so if you've ever heard us talking about over the years about having consistent polling places, consistent locations within the polling places, that's why, because we want to minimize any confusion and any obstacle to the voter being able to go in there and vote.
Recently, we had, due to the spike in numbers, we had our governor Abbott, state that, stay home as much as possible. We've had our county judge as well. What does the Democratic Party anticipate the numbers being? You think we are going to take a hit due to this coronavirus? And what options are there? Are there like a curbside voting for people?
Yes, I was actually just going to get into that. There is curbside voting. There's a big sign out there in front of every polling place that has a phone number. You can pull up to the polling place and you can dial that number. It rings in the polling place and the judge will come out and take the ballot to your car. So that's an option that's available to any voter. If you've been to vote today, you'll know that we have screens up at all the polling places. They're plexiglass screens. There is a touch-free system where you scan your driver's license. It doesn't even get swiped anymore. It's actually read with a scanner, and it's much quicker, frankly, than the system before, which will help a lot. The pens are sanitized between each use. The booths are sanitized between each use. And so, of course, all the workers are wearing masks. So it's a very secure place to go vote. But if anybody does feel concerned, obviously tomorrow's the last day to file to vote by mail.
Well, let me tell you, one of the things that I noticed early this morning, all of us are out there. I'm a big proponent. Go vote, go vote, go vote. I even had a big old spiel this morning, and I told individuals, on the 9 o'clock live, and I made sure I could put a couple of posts, guys. It's going to be safe. I've spoken with the elections department. They're going to do, have cleaning out there. They're going to make sure that there's social distancing. It's going to be 100% safe. Well, nothing's 100% safe, but it's going to be as safe as possible in order to go vote. So please go vote. Well, guess what, Jared? This morning, while I was out there looking at through my feed, I come up in regards a post from Sheriff Omar Lucio, where he was saying, "Stay home, stay safe," and I'm going like, "What? What are you talking about?"
Well, I think there's a distinction to be made between essential activities and non-essential activities, and that's been the message since the beginning. For some reason, the public has a hard time picking that up sometimes, I think. Folks don't make the distinction between going to vote, essential to our democracy, going to get food at the grocery store, versus going to a bar, going to a fiesta, going to the beach, things that are not essential. And so voting is essential. It's safe. It's not crowded. There are locations that are very well ventilated. There's a lot of great precautions in place when you go vote. And so I urge everyone to go vote. They should feel totally secure in doing so. But again, as you mentioned, if they don't feel secure entering the polling place, they can use curbside voting. They can avail themselves of that. And that's there for them. They just have to pull up, dial that number, and someone will come out to their car. They don't even have to go in the polling place. And by the way, that worker that comes out to their car will be wearing a mask. The items that they hand them will be sanitized. So it's a very, very safe thing to do. But big difference between voting and going to a bar. And that's maybe nowadays. In the old days, maybe not, right, when they used to hand out beer at the polling places. But nowadays, it's a big difference.
The good old days.
Well, maybe some of your previous guests might want to start that back, but your previous subject, they might start that back.
One of the things I'm feeling a lot of, despite the fact that we are under very difficult and different times. I do see a lot of the candidates out there, doing their best to try and go onto social media and, trying to find ways to. So hats off to them. As that, have you seen any discouragement in regards to a lot of the candidates in regards to having to deal with a very different form of politics?
Well, it's tough for all of us. It's tough for us in the party. I know that we're trying to figure out how we go forward, how we hold our meetings, fundraisers, how we're going to handle block walking. I know it's been tough for the candidates to campaign when they can't go door to door. That's very tough when you can't have events. So we're all dealing with that and trying to figure out how we can connect with voters, get our message out, answer their concerns, and encourage them to participate. So it's a concern for all of us, but I wouldn't say that anyone's discouraged. I'm certainly not discouraged. I don't think the candidates are discouraged. I think people, by their nature, when they're running, when they're involved in politics, it's because they believe in the future, and they believe that they can make a difference and they can do something positive for the community. And so, when they're running, they're not running from the perspective of discouragement. They're running from the perspective of hope. And there's a way forward. We're going to find that way as a party, as a community, as candidates, and it'll work out. But we need the voters' cooperation, and we thank them for their patience.
Well, I'll tell you that I'm addicted to running, and I'm addicted to campaigns and stuff. So it's kind of weird, but every time early election day comes, I feel this excitement in even though I'm not participating.
I didn't get it. Exciting. I was once criticized for calling yard signs the wildflowers of democracy. So it's exciting every time you see it out there. They're supporting their candidates. They're out there involved in the community. It's a great thing to see. A lot of people say, "Oh, they're unsightly," but to me, that's great. The fact that people want to be out there and they want to publicly state a candidate they support or a cause that they're in favor of. That's great. That's wonderful. That we need more of that. We need more involvement from the public. So, I'm always happy to see an election and see people involved. It is exciting.
Jay Ship, let's answer the question real quick. Yeah, you can find out after the election is over. You can find out if your vote was counted or not because it comes.
Oh, well, of course it's counted. I mean, that if you were qualified as a voter, it's going to be counted. I can go in the procedure a little bit more. So there is a special carrier that's used, which you put your ballot into. It's a metal. It's sort of like a metal sleeve.
Yeah.
And so once you filled out your ballot, you place it into that sleeve, and then that sleeve is then fed into the machine. So the poll worker doesn't even touch your ballot. It's automatically fed into the machine. So of course your ballot's going to be counted if you vote at the curbside.
During this pandemic, we've seen how you previously mentioned there has been that lack of reaching out to the constituents out in Cameron County. Is it fair to say, Jared, that this election, this runoff will be like no other? Because we know that runoffs is a toss-up, but how hard is it going to be to get the voters out there to get their people that they want in office?
Well, it's certainly an unusual circumstance. I don't know if it's unprecedented. We've had illnesses like this before. You go back 100 years, and we had the flu pandemic. But of course, we didn't have the same knowledge back then that we do of how it spread that we do now. It's not. I think we're going to go forward. It is unusual. I wouldn't say it's a lack on behalf of the candidates. It's just difficult. I think a lot of candidates want to knock on the doors, but they recognize that people don't really want somebody to knock on their doors. We think about November. Well, what are we going to do? We usually block walk. Do people want to see us knocking on their door? They probably don't. So are we going to leave literature? Do we do phone banking?
No.
We talked about texting, right? No, nobody wants to text. We remember that last,
Yeah.
Texts are not popular. So how do you connect with people? Social media is part of it. And, you're a big part of that, Erasmo. But, there's also some big animating issues this year. And a lot of good choices that are going to be before the voters, from the local elections all the way to the national elections. And so I think the voters are very aware of what the stakes are, who's running, why they're running, and what they'll do if they're elected. So we're just going to continue to remind people of that, and we are going to find ways to continue to reach out to voters, and we'll do everything in our power as a party to do that, to reach out to them, to engage with them, and encourage them to participate.
Where can we find out curbside locations? Again, all you have to do is drive up every place.
Every location, every early voting site, and every election day site is a curbside site.
And I've already posted the list of the sites, and I'll continue to post them throughout these next couple of weeks. I'll be throwing them out there. Again, I'm going to encourage every single individual out there that I know. I mean, you don't have to vote for me at all because I'm not on there this time around. But I want y'all to go out there and vote, guys. I really do want you to go and vote. I truly believe in the electoral process. I've said it thousands of times in the 5 races that I've run in the past, and the next ones that I'll be running. I believe in the electoral process. I believe in you becoming a part of the electoral system and the electoral process. Go out there and hold a sign for someone. Go out there and just be very supportive. But something that you mentioned, Jared, one of the things that a lot of the candidates have to understand that this next race was made for Erasmo Castro. I mean, there's no block walking. Nobody's going to want to see you in a hazmat suit knocking on their doors. Even with literature, even if you're passing out literature, I mean, are people going to be safe grabbing onto literature? Some people won't. And the other day, someone said, well, Erasmo, what about mail outs? People are going to be able to do mail outs. And then all of a sudden, boom, the post office comes out with positives. And I go like, but I think that the only thing that the old style of politics that people are going to use are mail outs, putting ads on the stupid Herald. Although today they did a great job today, Bronzo Herald. Great job. But, putting
I heard about that.
Great job today, Harold. And, and text messages, and phone banking that can do. But you know what, Jared, you might disagree. I really think that people don't like phone banking. I personally hate it. I hate when I get calls. I hate when I get texts. I mean, Beto O'Rourke is a friend of mine. Beto and me go back a while, so I don't know if you knew that.
No, I did not.
Yeah, we're great friends. I mean, he
calls them on Saturdays.
No. Greg Abbott.
He's a very personable guy. He is. He is a very personable guy. Sends people letters, notes, calls people all the time. He is. I believe you.
I like Beto. He calls me every other Wednesday, sometimes on Thursday when he skips a Wednesday. And the last conversation I had with him, I told him, hey, Beto, we need your help down here in regard to you're a motivator. And he said he's planning to come back. I'm sure he's talked to you as well. I don't know if he talks to you as much as he talks to me, but
probably not. I should be jealous.
Yeah, and with Beto, I was getting texts from him or from his crew every day, multiple times a day, when he was running for senator against Ted Cruz, and it got to the point where I just sent him a text back and said, "Get me off your list." And then once he started calling me on Wednesdays, every other Wednesday, I told him, Beto, I love you. I appreciate you. You and I are like this, bro, especially when you're wearing a dress. But I please stop doing that. I don't think that sending all those amounts of text, really helps out, because I don't like to receive text. I don't, and I don't like to get called. I hate door knocking when people knock on my door, but we won't be doing that anymore. Do you think that is going to change? With this new era, this new period, this new time?
I think it's still going to continue. I think that's really the only way to reach out. You keep in mind that you and I probably get more calls or texts than the average person. There's a lot of people that are glad to hear from someone. Sometimes the older people, particularly, that are glad to hear from someone. And when you look at who do you target with your phone calls, oftentimes it's the older voters, and they're the ones that are most susceptible to COVID. So it works out well, I think, to have phone banking for them. Text message, we'll have to evaluate that and see. It certainly couldn't be something to that level like happened in 2018. That was just excessive. And so I think social media, email, letters, even neighbors calling each other, or neighbors getting out there and sending letters or postcards to their neighbors. I've seen that. You see a lot of more people becoming engaged in their community at a neighborhood level, talking among their neighbors about things that matter in their community, whether it's with the school district, the city, but then also how national issues impact them. We saw that out here in the Laguna Madre area with the LNG. We saw it years ago with the proposed landfill that was finally stopped. We've seen this with the people that are upset about the detention center. They're folks that are local activists that are active in the community, that are talking to their friends and neighbors about local and national issues, and that's driving a political conversation that will then lead to folks going out and voting in November and voting tomorrow and through the 14th.
I was
real quick, the numbers are in 68 positives for Brown. I think I counted right. 68 or 69. I prefer 69, but that's a story for another day. But there's 68 or 69 positives for Brownsville. There's a total of 113 for Cameron County.
Yeah, I was going to open up my email here.
Today we had, today we got word, Jared, that the county beaches will be closing up.
Yes, sir.
Here locally, in Hidalgo, the county judge did state that Hidalgo did have 240 cases. And what was alarming was that another 30-year-old passed away due to COVID complications. What is, and we got word from the Cameron County that the beaches will be closing and 4th of July is going to be closing. What's your take on that being in Port Isabel and South Padre Island?
Well, it saddens me that we have to have this closure, but I recognize it's necessary. Sometimes when you're a leader, you have to make tough decisions. There's a lot of folks that want to shirk responsibility, or they want to snipe from the sidelines, criticize everything. They say, well, they can't decide because it's a hypothetical, and they always want to stay in the realm of the hypothetical. But when you're a leader, you have to take charge, and you're in charge. And sometimes you get criticized, sometimes you get praised, but you've got to do what you think is right. That's why you were elected. So I applaud the judge for what he did, but it saddens me that we got to this point because I don't think we had to. What was upsetting to me is to see that we had a lot of folks that didn't want to follow rules. We had a lot of establishments that didn't want to follow rules, and we had local jurisdictions that didn't want to follow rules. They didn't want to enforce them. One of the things I noticed is the governor said, well, he had to close bars because the bars were not doing only table service. In Port Isabel, we initially prohibited anything but table service, including dancing and people drinking at the bar. But because the surrounding communities did not enforce that, it became impossible for us to enforce that. And so now we ended up with a situation where all the bars got closed. And because we had this supposed, outbreak on South Padre under a hotspot, now we have a situation where beaches have to be closed, and it's the most important week of the year. And so, for people to try to have a short-term mentality, try to get a little bit more for another day, they've now cost us, our workers and our business owners, a lot of money, a lot of opportunities, and they put our local citizens at risk. And so it's very upsetting to see that because this illness is not something that's going away. It's going to be with us for a long time. We have to learn to adapt. We have to learn to continue to function with some sense of normality. And that means that we have to take precautions. We have to take precautions to enable us to continue to function. And so to see people not take those precautions, that jeopardizes our ability to go forward as a community and as a country. And so it's very upsetting. So I hope that they'll understand the importance of that. And, you mentioned that 30-year-old. When I hear folks that dismiss this illness, that say, oh, it's just like another flu, oh, that only 1% of the people die. I mean, come on, only 1% of the people die? First of all, that's not true. It's a much greater percentage here in the United States and particularly down here. But regardless, the folks that survive have debilitating complications. They're ill for months. Some of them have a stroke. They were in the ICU. They have delirium. That's a terrible disruption to someone's life. It can take away their ability to function. So it's not something to trifle with and not something to minimize. And so when you see a 30-year-old die, you see all that potential loss. It's terribly saddening. Terribly saddening.
And we lost.
It makes me angry.
We lost a 21-year beautiful girl, from
infants, an infant last week in Brownsville.
And an infant the Thursday right before she died. She died on Saturday. Just to answer Vince's question, what was it like recording with Eddie Perez? Let me tell you, Eddie Perez is a genius. Eddie Perez is a genius. I appreciate his material. He is one of our local vloggers, which is, it's a little spoof where kids go out there, young guys, and go have some fun, college-age students. And, one of the things that I think is important, Jared, I'm accessible to everyone out there. And, I was very honored to be asked to come out in one of the vlogs, and it was a funny spoof in regards to me driving a scooter, and they did a questions and answers. But I think it's something that's important, that our younger generation, they're more, and even now the schools are going to be somewhat closing. Kids are going to be more on their tablets, more on their phones, more on the computers, more on internet. We have never seen it as heavy as we see it now. I think that a lot of these younger kids, the guys in college at university level, they're being more woke. You see, I'm even using their words. They're woke, bro, and and they're interested in knowing the electoral process. They're interested in knowing what's going on in regards to politics and everything. So I think that they came out for Beto, my buddy, the one that calls me every other Wednesday, and they always come out for Erasmo because Erasmo is handsome and totally not fat. So I think that candidates now are going to have to cater not only to the viejitos that that used to have, but they're also going to have to start catering and listening to the young generations.
The majority of registered voters, that's I think almost 60% are under 39. Which that makes us, well, I'm not going to say that, but at least it makes me on the wrong side of that. And that's unsettling. That's an unsettling thought. But as you mentioned before, if you're going to be in the public eye, you cannot have vanity or be too proud. So, I can make fun of myself and you can make fun of yourself. And so I applaud you for interacting that skit. I didn't know who Eddie Pettis was. I'll have to look him up.
He's amazing.
Eddie Pettis was the school board member, so
No, that's little Eddie. That's different. This is Eddie Pettis, not little Eddie. But Eddie Pettis, actually, I posted we did a shoot for 2 hours, and actually he couldn't put it into one, so he's going to do two. So wow. I get double exposure. So I put it out today, and I thought it was funny. And the next one, I think he's going to come out in the next couple of days, and we'll share that one as well. But very talented. We have such great talent here in our area. I mean, we've got individuals that are amazing at our fine arts, our artists, our singers, our bands. Just some amazing talent. And one of the things that I hope to do and continue to do, and I've done for ages, is continue to uplift and to motivate individuals to look for these guys because they're amazing.
It is true. We have tremendous talent in Cameron County. I shouldn't say that I'm surprised, but I'm always happy to see, especially younger people, how intelligent and how engaged they are. To be involved in different organizations and to see people that, are highly educated folks that went and got their master's degree and then they come back to the Valley to make a difference. And it's so heartening to see that. So heartening to see people that want to continue contributing to this community because, if you look at the news and you hear some of the things that you might have talked about earlier, it's easy to be depressed, right? To feel that there's doom and gloom, that everybody's up to no good or that there's no hope for the future, whether it's coronavirus, whether it's corruption. And, you and I have both talked about people over the years that maybe don't do the right thing and that they need to be called out for that. And so I always tell people, look, you have to have hope. You have to have hope. That is the one thing that you cannot lose sight of because we can make a difference. We've done it before and we can do it again. And so the problems that we have today can be corrected. It reminds me a little bit about what happened with that rock in Washington Park in Brownsville. No, seriously, because one of the things that struck me is that people were not letting themselves be changed by history. You look at a rock like that, and of course that rock is just lies, written in stone and bronze. It's something that was erected to make permanent or try to make permanent white supremacy. And the folks who did it back in 1930 or 1928, whatever it was, thought they'd be successful. But what they forgot is that history doesn't belong to them. It belongs always to the present. And by interpreting history, that's how we shape the future. And of course, in doing that, though, we let history change us sometimes too. And so when we look at things that have gone wrong in our community, whether they're problems with the school board, whether they're problems with the city, whether they're problems with the country, maybe you have a dispute with the president, many of us do, including me. But it shows the path forward for us to do something different and to change and to be better. And so that's why I say you have to let yourself be changed by history, to be shaped by history, and move forward because it belongs to us and we can use the past to make ourselves better.
If I could go back,
sure.
If I could go back in regards to the closing of the beaches, we also got a curfew. There will be people under 17 and younger, 10 p.m. to 6 p.m., 18 and older, 11 p.m. to 5 p.m. You think this is a little bit too late, or you think this is something that we needed at this time?
It's needed. Unfortunately, people do not stop going to these fiestas, parties, gatherings that they're having. When you look at where the cases originate, many of these infections are acquired from family members, extended family members. And so what happens is one person through their work will go and they will acquire this illness. They will not be aware that they're ill, or they might be aware, but put it in the back of their minds, let's say. So they go and they'll have a barbecue or they'll have a party with their extended family, with their neighbors, friends. And then what happens is they transmit it to numerous people in numerous households. Those folks then become infected. And then later on, they infect people in their family. So that's the chain of transmission that we're seeing. And you try to reiterate this to people over and over again, and they just don't seem to get it through their minds. And that's what I talked about a little bit earlier. You know, how this illness, the vector is human beings. That is how it's transmitted. You know, I can't tell you how many people I get call me and say, will you tell me the places where the people with coronavirus were so we can avoid them? It's everywhere.
Everywhere.
I myself have learned that I've sat next to someone with COVID that they didn't know they had it. You know, and I don't go anywhere, but I happen to go to a city meeting. And so it's everywhere. And you have to assume that everywhere you go, the people are infected, and you have to take proper measures to protect yourself from them. But you also have to assume that you could be infected with an asymptomatic infection. And that's why wearing masks is so important. You know, people have tried to politicize this illness, whether it's folks that say that wearing a mask is a political statement. It's not. And for the folks on the other side of the aisle, you've heard Vice President Pence yesterday. You heard Governor Abbott last week say that masks are effective. So listen to them. You know, you have the message that came out by the county judge, and then unfortunately my counterpart on the other side tried to politicize that and say it was to induce panic. It's not. It's an important message that's timely and needs to be heard because people are not hearing it. You need to stay home. You need to be careful because if not, this illness will continue to spread and people will die. They will be debilitated. They will lose months of their life. And we have the power to stop us. Again, like what I said before, are we learning from what's happened? Are we learning from history, right? We've seen what's happening, and yet we're continuing to do the same thing. So it is timely. I'm sad that it has to happen now during our most important week of the year for the Laguna Madre area, at least. It's very upsetting to me. If we had adhered better to the guidelines, we wouldn't be in this situation. And so that is very upsetting, but sadly it is necessary to happen now. And so I'm glad the judge showed the leadership and took what could be an unpopular step to try to prevent the further spread of this deadly illness.
Well, I gotta throw you a jab real quick because
a jab, sure.
A jab. You know, you speak about let's learn from history. What happened to the Democrat Party, bro? I mean, why did they shun my Bernie again, bro?
Your Bernie?
My Bernie. Me and Bernie are like this, bro. Me and Bernie are like this.
Are you? Well,
again, the Democrat Party screwed over my Bernie.
That's just not true. But the party is made up of people.
Twice.
And the folks that are our nominees are the people that are elected by the people who identify as Democrats. We all know that. And so it's not up to me to decide who our nominees are going to be. I don't get involved whatsoever at all. I don't go to a single event. I don't say anything about any candidate. The last candidate I endorsed was in 2008, and I haven't done it ever since then. And so, I beg your pardon?
And I thank you for your endorsement.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. Yes. but seriously, he's endorsed Vice President Biden, and so like many of his supporters have also come along and recognized the importance of getting behind Mr. Biden's candidacy and defeating Donald Trump and restoring the United States, restoring our position in the world, restoring good government, making sure that we deal with the illness, the problems that we have in this country in the way that we know Americans can deal with them. I mean, if you look at the problems we've had in the past 4 years or 3.5 years and the way they've been handled, I challenge anyone to say they'd be proud as an American to see the way they've been handled. Just think of the fact that we still have shortages of hand sanitizer and toilet paper. What would happen to us if we were to be attacked by a foreign country? I mean, we can't even make toilet paper. It's ridiculous. We don't have adequate testing. We don't have an adequate response to this illness. And so that's what people are looking forward to. How are we going to change and how are we going to make this country better? And I think, folks, whether they supported Senator Sanders or they supported any of the other candidates or they supported Vice President Biden, they're excited and they're ready to go for November.
Well, let me tell you, one of the things Jared, do you really think that Joe Biden is going to beat President Trump? I mean,
I do.
Joe Biden can't remember if it's Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
No, that's I think that's a really ridiculous caricature. You know, if you listen to him speak, he's a person that's very well informed, that has a lot of empathy, that feels and understands what people need. And he is going to be a great president of the United States, and he is going to restore this country to greatness.
Jared, any other words in regards to early voting that we need to make sure that we constantly get our individuals informed?
Just go out there and vote. We need you out there to vote. Everybody, please vote. It's safe. It's easy. The polls are not crowded. They're busy, but not crowded. Like I said, you have the option of curbside voting. It's super easy. You can go in there and vote. It's really convenient, really safe. The polls sanitized. There's screens everywhere. The workers are wearing masks. You get an individual pen. And keep in mind, we use paper ballots, thank goodness. So those paper ballots are individual just to you, so nobody else touch that paper ballot. And if not, you have till tomorrow to register to vote by mail, if you feel that you qualify for that.
I agree. Maggie, any other questions for Jared?
Just to remind everybody, go out and vote. We have 2 weeks. Election day, I believe, is Tuesday, July 14th. So try and, advise your friends and family, as safely as possible. There is mention that there is curbside voting. So it will be safe. And it is very important for us to go out and vote. These times are very uncertain. But let's hope to try and get as many votes out there as possible to show a true representation of the constituency out there for the elected officials.
I just saw that you were nominated for Mr. Amigo there, so I had to laugh.
Yeah, we're hoping that I get picked to be Mr. Amigo, but I'll be content with taking the election in November, so that'll be okay. That'll be a good thing. Jared, any last words, my man?
That's it. Go out and vote. We need your vote. Whoever you want to vote for, please vote.
Please vote. Yeah, whoever you're going to vote. Guys, please remember the numbers out there are not good. They're still very, very bad. They're bad throughout the county. So, guys, please adhere to a lot of the recommendations, suggestions that are being given out by the medical professionals and, the scientists out there. Maintain social distancing, proper hygiene, and, as to always wear your face coverings when you're going to go into places. And, again, go out and vote. It's safe, and it doesn't take more than 3 to 5 minutes. You're in there, you're out there, and if you feel very uncomfortable, call the number, and you can vote from your car. Jared, again, thank you, my man. You're amazing. Always been amazing. I get you on my very short list of friends.
Gracias, igualmente.
Guys, have a great evening. God bless. Take care. Take care of each other. Take care of me. Bye, Dios. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, we'll continue speaking a little bit about Sylvia and what's going on over there. God bless.